Right, well, thanks very much for that warm welcome. Thanks very much, Abid Khan, for the very kind and generous invitation to present here tonight. I know it's some very hard acts to follow. We have Mona Waris sitting amongst our midst, and we have Safra Azali here. We have so many people who I look up to myself as mentors and people who I see as successful business owners. So to present to them is a true honor and a privilege. Now, when we get into the presentation, before we get into the technical stuff, I'm going to begin with a bit of a story. Now, in the 1900s, early 1900s, they say that a group of social scientists conducted this specific experiment. What they did was they got 5 monkeys and put them in a cage together. Now, in the middle of that cage, they set up a ladder. From on top of that ladder, to put some bananas. So you can guess where this is going, right? So the monkeys are supposed to go up this ladder and get a banana for themselves. Now, what these monkeys didn't realize is that these scientists, what they had done is they had installed hose pipes around this cage filled with ice-cold water and sprinklers. So every time a monkey would go up and try to get a banana, they'd get sprinkled and they'd get washed down with a lot of water, cold, ice-cold water. So obviously, they're going to be a bit cheesed off. The first one went up, tried to get the banana. He got drowned in the water. And not just him, but all the rest of the monkeys within that cage also got the treatment. Okay. The next day comes along. By this time, the monkeys realize that we're not supposed to be getting these bananas, right? Next day comes along. So what these scientists do is they replace one of the original monkeys with a brand new monkey. Okay? What do you think this monkey is going to do first thing when he gets into that cage? He's going to go and get the bananas, right? So when he tries to go and get the banana, what do you think will or might have happened? That's what we thought. However, what they didn't realize is the scientists, these sneaky things, they actually took out these hoses so there was no more water to be drowned with, okay? But as soon as this monkey started getting up onto this ladder, to his surprise, all the rest of the monkeys ganged up, grabbed him, and beat the crap out of him. Right? Crap is a technical term, by the way. So obviously, these guys are like, hang on, we don't want to get wet, right? So get off that ladder and let us continue living our life the way we're supposed to be living it. This is the norm, right? So naturally, this monkey's obviously got his battered and bruised body, sitting in the corner, sulking, thinking, boy, these monkeys have gone bananas. Pardon that. Okay. Some of you caught on to that quite late, didn't you? Yeah. Now, the second day, the scientists did another thing. What they did was they replaced one of the original monkeys with another brand new monkey. So this brand new monkey again comes into the cage. What does he try to do? Climb the ladder. Is he able to climb the ladder? No, why not? But the other 3 monkeys are going to go and start battering him. But here's the surprising thing. Not just those 3 monkeys. The monkey who got beaten up the previous day, he doesn't even know why he got beaten up. He joins in as well, right? So they're all ganging up on this monkey, and they're beating the crap out of this monkey. So there's 2 monkeys now, battered and bruised, and thinking, okay, we're not supposed to be doing this. Now, this continues to happen over the course of the 5 days until all the monkeys have been replaced by brand new monkeys. None of the monkeys had seen what had happened on the original day. But none of the monkeys would go to get the bananas. Now, if we were to ask these monkeys, why do you do this, or why do you not go for the bananas, what do you think they'd say? It's just the way things are done around here. Sound familiar? Yeah. So what often happens is, when we hear these stories and we hear or try to derive lessons from here, some questions are posed in our minds, aren't they? The scientists are asking us some kind of questions. What kind of questions do you think they're asking us? Maybe not. They're not asking us whether we are actually a monkey. But you have the old saying, monkey see, monkey do, right? The question is, are we asking enough questions? That's the question. That's the real question, isn't it? Right? Now, tonight's talk is about creating success on your own terms. Now, this is not something that I usually deliver, because those of you who know me as a risk management consultant or a tactical sales strategist who coaches and mentors people in sales. So what does this have to do, or how do we even define or qualify these statements? Creating success on your own terms. It's a very broad and a very generic title. There's two things we have to qualify here first. What are those two things?
What is success?
Exactly. First thing is, how do we define success? What's the second thing? On what terms? We have to qualify these statements before we can make any sense of them, right? So how do we define success? Everybody in this room will probably know that everybody defines success in very subjective ways. We all live non-linear type of lives. None of us are on some kind of a conveyor belt where we get packed in and sent off to life with set types of strengths and weaknesses, and that's it. We just carry on identical to each other. We're all very different. Our aspirations are different. Our upbringing has been different. Our life experiences have been different. Something we class as success may be something that we may not have experienced before, right? Others may have had the privilege of experiencing certain things in their lives. So for them, they might not class that as a success if they got to achieve that again. So how do we do this? Now, again, we have some very knowledgeable and very qualified people in the room. What I'm going to share tonight are some of the tips which have helped me personally. Some of the things that I have kind of adopted as I've gone on through life and certain experiences, and the things that I've kind of adopted and thought to myself, you know what, this actually helps. In order to define success, we need to first define ourselves. We need to understand ourselves. If we can't understand ourselves, how can we understand what success means to us? There are three things, as a business owner, I would say are very important for us to be able to establish, number one, how we define success, or what is success, and number two, our terms, values, purpose, and passion. I'm going to go into this a little bit more detail. Let's talk about values. Companies have brand values, core brand values. We recognize them with these core brand values. Let's take Apple, for instance. Apple's core brand value, one of the core brand values is innovation. Well, that might be debatable since the latest iPhones, but I'm an Android fan, I know, don't give me any stick. But innovation is one of the things that Apple has always been very good at, okay? Volvo, what springs to mind when you hear the name Volvo? Safety and reliability, and there's hundreds of more examples that we can think of. What are our brand values as business owners? How many of us have actually thought about our own brand and the values that we put surrounding our brand? What do people recognize us for? What do people think about when they think about our company name, or even us as individuals? We can think about personal values as solopreneurs, or people who are running, even people who are working for other companies, if you're in an employee position. What are our personal values? Are we coasting through life, or do we actually have values? Do we have ethics of any kind that we live by? What's important to us? What are our beliefs? What is our character? There's an old saying, I don't know whether you've heard it or not, some of you may have done. Be careful of your thoughts, they become words. Be careful of your words, they become actions. Be careful of your actions, they become habits. Be careful of your habits, they form your character. And be conscious of your character, because that leads you to your destiny. Very powerful stuff. It all starts from the mind, doesn't it? But what are our values? Where do we derive our values from? It could be theological values that we've derived or we've adopted. There could be other types of values that we've adopted from our surroundings, from our upbringing and our experiences. What about passion? Let me ask you a question. Is it possible to be passionate about something you've never experienced? If I've never experienced something, can I be passionate about it? I would disagree. Yes. I would humbly disagree. I don't think it's really truly possible to be passionate about something until you've actually experienced it. Theory is a different thing, an interest is a different thing. We could have an interest in certain things, but to be truly adopting something as a passion, it requires action. Because passion is the result of action and not the cause of it. Motion creates emotion. You know, sometimes the hardest or the difficult thing to do is to actually get started. To actually do, when you have a plan in your mind or you have an idea in your mind and you think about doing something, the hardest thing to do is actually get started. And once you've started it, then you think, you know what? That wasn't so bad after all. I can continue with this. I can go with this. This is why they say motion creates emotion. We have to get into motion to become passionate about it in the first place. Moving on to purpose. Sometimes people say, my purpose is to be comfortable and at peace. I think comfort and peace are sometimes used synonymously, where they are two very different things. Comforts are usually referred to physical things, and peace is usually related to our state of mind. And the wonderful thing about peace is it's obtained more when you give more of it. I find that personally, peace is something that I attain more of when I'm giving more. Your passion is for you, your purpose is for those other than you. Jay Shetty says that. I don't know whether any of you have heard of Jay Shetty, a wonderful motivational speaker. I listen to him and he's amazing. He says, your passion is for you, your purpose is for others. Rational versus intuition. Sometimes people think that passions have to make rational sense. The thing with our rationality is that the rational faculties of our mind are very limited in what we can process, or they're not infinite, they are finite. Our intuition, on the other hand, processes information in a very different way, and it's unlimited with what we can process. So it may not make rational sense to one person, but sometimes our purpose is derived out of intuitive feelings towards something. Habits and conditioning. And we talked about this earlier with habits and the mindset and the conditioning, the monkeys that we talked about. Sometimes we think that our purpose derives from the environment that we're in and the way we're brought up to do something, and that should be our purpose because my dad did it, or my uncle did it, or my family did it, or my friends are doing it, or my community thinks this is the right thing to do. And sometimes we think our purpose derives from them. But the question is, the last two are interlinked. What do you do? Let's think about this in a business perspective. Let's think about you guys as business people in the room. What do you do and what difference does it make to others? We're going to do a really quick exercise here, just for 1 minute. Turn to the person next to you, and I want you to explain to them, answer two questions for them. What do you do, and what difference does it make to others? Go. Very quickly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, these two questions, especially the first one, what do you do? It's a very common question we get asked, especially in networking events like this, isn't it? So those of you who are avid networkers, you'll know that there's always somebody who's always going to come and ask you, so what do you do? You know what the funny thing is? I mean, I noticed this, and it took a bit of experience and time for me to realize this. Depending on how that person asks you, what do you do, sometimes triggers certain thoughts in your mind. Is he asking me because he's genuinely interested in knowing what I do? Or is he asking me because he wants his turn to tell me what he really does? You know, it's like, so what do you do? You know someone's kind of genuine, right? And then somebody says, what do you do? And you think, hey? So, you know, it's amazing. It's one of the most common questions we get asked in networking. But here's the question for you. Next time you're doing some networking, it's a very poignant but free tip for you. In networking, when somebody asks you what you do, don't ask them answer the direct question of what you do. Answer the question, the secondary question is, what difference does it make to others? And that's your elevator pitch. Yeah, does that make sense? So, from a business perspective, that's your purpose for your being in business, right? That's your elevator pitch. Within 30 seconds, you can tell them that answer. And you know what's going to happen next when you tell them what difference does that make? So if I'm, for example, Mo and Nasrat over there, they own Sleep Revolution and they manufacture and design mattresses, revolutionary mattresses. So if I'm saying, if I'm asking them, what do you do? And if they answer the questions, well, we design some products which help our customers sleep so much more peacefully over, the next question is going to be, oh, how do you do that? I'm going to ask a secondary question, aren't I? I'm not going to ask how do you, I could assume they were selling pills, right? But, it's going to ask a secondary question, then you get a conversation going. And that's how you can elevate your pitch. Okay, so the first thing was to determine what is it that we see as success and what are our terms. So our purpose and passion is what we consider to be our success, or how we define our success. And our values give us the framework onto the conditions that we will attach to get our success, or win business, in life in general. Second thing, being content, or attaining contentment. We were having this discussion with Fariha and Mo earlier on this evening. Being content doesn't mean you stop being ambitious. Being content merely means that you should accept, to a degree, that who you are, what capabilities you have, what's your aptitude, reassess your attitude, and fly for the altitude. Kind of nicked that Zig Ziglar, but you know what I mean, right? Because being content doesn't mean you stop being ambitious. But don't be so ambitious that you neglect your present. Some people are always on the go. Always, always, always on the go. And they miss out on the very important opportunities within their families, within their life, what they were actually working for. It's the same thing that happened to me some years ago before I made that turnaround. Be truthful to yourself. There's a technical definition to this, which is don't believe in your own BS. Especially the ones that's been endorsed by others. Right? We all come across those situations where sometimes in the morning we might feel really groggy and we think, you know what, I'm feeling a bit under the weather. I don't want to really go into work. So you tell somebody around you, you know what, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. They say, oh dear, you look really pale. You know what, stay in bed. They'll probably catch something off you, just stay in bed. It's been endorsed now, right? So you don't go into work, right? But being truthful to yourself. And getting to know yourself is one of the ways that we can only be truthful to ourselves. Sometimes we see successful people around us or success around us. We want the success, but we don't want to put in the hard work. There's an old philosopher by the name of Cooley. This is not the Bollywood film, by the way, Bollywood fans. And he said, I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. A bit deep, right? Let me repeat that. He says, I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. Bit of self-discovery there, yeah? Yeah, this is getting really deep. And the whole point of it is to better understand ourselves before we understand whether we are actually lying to ourselves or not. And most of us know when we're lying to ourselves and when we're not lying to ourselves. The motivation has to be there. Work smart to increase your value. Some people say work smart so you don't have to work hard. But what of those who are working so hard at becoming smarter? You've got to put hard work in somewhere. You can't get away from it that easily. But increasing your value means that you are moving yourself away from your competitors. Now, if you're somewhat different and unique by the value you are offering to your competitors, you decrease that competition level. Yeah? Busy isn't always productive. We can be busy all the time, doing useless things. But how productive are we being? So we need to realign ourselves with how productive we are. We have Mike Gardner, the Time Doctor, in the house. He can help you with that. So what is your working day worth? Some people say, I wish I had more hours at the end of my day. I wish I had more hours at the end of my day so I can get more done. And that will increase my worth. That will increase my value. You know, especially when we have people who have possibly worked in a factory environment, working in hourly rates. More hours means more money, right? But the question is, within those 8 hours, let's just say this person works for 8 hours and he earns a set amount of money. Within those 8 hours, there'll be somebody else working in that same company who's earning twice as much. So is it the time? Is it just the time that they need more of? This is why we say we need to increase our own worth and our own value. How do we do that? Well, this comes through a couple of different ways. We're looking at personal and professional development, self-development. Maya Angelou once said, "I've learned that I still have a lot to learn." It's better to know how to learn than to just know. Because if we're not open to learning and we don't have the willingness to learn, then we're just cocooning ourselves in our own little worlds, believing that it's just us, that's it, we're the best we can be. Yeah, we can learn through books, training, mentors, and coaches. I mean, we have some phenomenal ones in the room tonight. But we can learn from interactions, we can learn from people. Brian Herbert said, "The capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill." You may have the aptitude to learn, the capacity to learn, which is a gift. But our ability to learn, or willingness even to learn, that's a gift. That's a skill. So we can learn from people around us. I'm learning all the time. I'm learning from Mona Wise's Facebook posts. And if any of you have read some of his Facebook posts, you'll know what kind of value you get from those posts. A lot of humor as well, mind you. You know, sometimes you read them. And same goes with Kul's videos. Kul Mahay delivers almost daily. How long has it been now, Kul? Sorry? How long have you been delivering these daily videos? 2.5 years. 2.5 years. This man delivers daily videos on mindset and personal development. You learn stuff from him. We can learn from situations. We can extrapolate lessons from interactions. The way we interact with people, we can learn from that. Okay? And here's the interesting thing. Grow your comfort zone. Ralph Watson isn't in the room today because he's in Goa training NLP. And we had a discussion with him in a WhatsApp group not so long ago. And we were talking about working or stepping outside your comfort zone. And he said something really interesting. He said, "Why would you want to step out of your comfort zone? The comfort zone is the best place to be in." And this guy is a master NLP trainer. So I prodded along. I said, "Look, what do you mean by that?" He says, "Stretch your comfort zone so you can have more within it. Because it's the best place to be in." He said, "Stretch your comfort zone." So how do you stretch your comfort zone? You just do more of the things that you might not have done before to stretch that comfort zone so you can become more comfortable at doing these kind of things. Yeah? But you're still within your comfort zone. Yes, obviously, sometimes we have to make some really drastic decisions, some major decisions. And for that, we need to step really out of our comfort zone, granted. Announce your goals. I know I've seen posts on social media where they say, "Work hard in silence and let success do the talking." I agree with that to a certain degree, but the way I was brought up in the world of business, I was taught to announce my goals. In the early noughties, let's say 2000s, I haven't come from a privileged family background. My father passed away when I was 14 years old, and I inherited a lot of responsibility within my family. So I had an older sister who I needed. Those of you who are from the Asian or Muslim background, you'll understand that the men in the house bear the burden of the family and looking after them. And that happened to be me. Even though I had older siblings, it just happened to fall on my shoulders. So I had an elder sister, I had a younger sister. I paid for my elder sister's first car. I paid for her. I actually fought for her to go to university to break some of these taboos and barriers for education. Luckily, she ended up being one of the country's top clinical negligence lawyers, and she retired at the age of 43. Yeah, so we had my younger sister. We paid for my elder sister's wedding. I paid for my younger sister's wedding twice. Believe me, there's nobody as happy as me that she's good now. Do you know what I mean? Right? So sometimes, we face situations where we were struggling, and whilst I was at university, after I graduated in law, I needed to do my legal practice course. I needed to raise £10,000 for that to pay the College of Law to get this place. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to take out any loans or anything. Let me go and take a year out and I'll earn the money and then go back into the career again. So this is where my sales career began. And in this sales career, I ended up doing door-to-door cold calling here in Birmingham. I'm not from Birmingham originally, by the way, but this is where it all started. All my life, I've probably been employed for a total of 9 to 12 months by an employer. Otherwise, I've always been an independent contractor or self-employed, which means anything that I did and everything that I did, it had to work. And one of the things that they taught me whilst doing these training sessions is announce your goals. Tell the world what you're wanting to do. So just 2 weeks ago, some of you might have seen, who are connected with me, some of you might have seen my post that I'm writing a new book, right? That's my way of making all you guys my accountability partners. So by the end of the year, if I've made no progress and you ask me, right then, Maj, what's happening with this book you were writing? You know, we can hang me. But I have to thank Mo Nawaz for giving me the push in that direction. And it purely came out of a general conversation that he suggested that I do this. And now we felt it was the right time. You can have a network of associates. We have power teams, as we call them. Abid Khan's always talking about his power team and who's in his power team. We all have power teams. We have groups of people who we associate with. Or we can even use social media. Generally, we can use social media. Our circle of friends. Well, actually, you know what? There's a reason why I didn't put family and friends in that list. And I'm not going to give any prizes for wondering why. But usually, it's your people who are understanding of your situation who will probably egg you on more. So announce your goals. Put yourself under that little bit of pressure, just to confirm that, you know what, you're serious about this. And I want to be asked about this. So at the end of it, I have something to work towards and I'm going to be asked about it. Celebrate the small wins. When's life going to end? We don't know. Success is a journey and not a destination. We are always working on successful things or becoming successful in little things that the overall success sometimes is overshadowed by the challenges that we face, right? So when we look at things that we want to achieve as goals and aspirations, sometimes we think to ourselves, okay, we've got to get there, we've got to get there. It's like being on a horse on a saddle and, you know, just galloping away. No time for a break, no time to just sit down and relax and just chill. This is your life. You know, celebrate those small wins, because it's those small wins, when you're celebrating them, they're going to provide you with the motivation to continue going forwards and go for the next goal and go for the next goal. And sometimes people say, you know, having big aspirations and big goals and long-term plans is good to have a vision. But I've always worked in a way where you go with short-term plans, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, break them down and go after them. That's the way I've been brought up. And that's what works for me. Stay in your own lane. Have the courage to live a life true to your values, passion, and purpose, what we talked about earlier, not the life others expect of you. You know, in America, there was a nurse who worked in a hospital, and she was asked, they did a survey, and they asked her, of all those things, because she worked in the department where people were going through the end-of-life experience. They were dying, right? So she was asked, what are the things that are most common people talk about when they're dying? And she says, one of the top thing that she mentioned was the regret. She said that people said, towards the end of the life, I wish I'd have lived a life true to myself and not what others expected of me. Now, if this is coming from people who are really at the end of their lives, we need to obviously reassess sometimes where we're going with ours. Consistent, effective action. Now, it's all good learning lots of strategies. It's all good going to read books and mentors and coaches and courses and networking events. But unless we actually put the action in, it doesn't mean jack diddly, does it? Yeah? But here's the thing. There's action. Is action alone enough? No, it has to be consistent action. But is consistent action enough? It has to be effective action. Einstein once said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same results. So we have to look at implementing consistent, effective action. And finally, my final point, I know I've taken a lot of your time. It's never too late. Where's Mark Northwell? Mark here, who's working in a HR department for a university for 57 years before he changed his career. I'm just joking. Mark, how many years was it? 17 years, and then he changed his career. And he's very successful at what he does. We have some famous people over there, people like Morgan Freeman, whose career-defining movie was at the age of 53. Can you believe it? 53 he was when he had his career-defining movie. We have, Abid's pointing at Uncle Nazir Awan over there. I'm not so familiar with the background. Maybe you want to share that? Reinvented himself many times, and that's a sign of obviously having the grit. Colonel Sanders, KFC, you know what? He was 65 years old when he started that. 65 years old. So it just goes to show. Einstein said, there comes a time in everyone's life when we have to stop reading other people's books and start writing our own. Okay? Maybe this is the time. Maybe something I've said tonight will have had some value in helping you to write your own book. Ladies and gentlemen, Majid Waris. Thank you.